On today's show, we talk about, is it possible to be a closet Christian?
Hello and welcome to TGI Monday. So it's very nice to have you back with us. Did you have a nice holiday?
Amazing.
Thank you. Good. So did I. I've been away as well. And Dan, you had an exciting weekend.
I did. I got priested.
Tell us what that means.
I fully made it. I haven't been fired. What does it mean? It means I can now do Holy Communion and I can also give absolution in the Anglican Church. So
And bless people.
I can bless people.
There you go.
Yes,
Wow,
there you
exciting.
go.
Good. Well, we've had a question today from Nick. He asks, having come to faith only a couple of years ago, I took the decision that I would be very open about it. However, I know that many of my friends are closet Christians, in inverted commas. Should we all be shouting about our faith from the rooftops, even if it could have a negative impact on our secular lives? Great question, Nick. Really helpful thing to think about. What do we think? Can you be a closet Christian and still be faithful to the Lord? And if we should be all shouting it from the rooftops, what impact might that have? Zoe, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I was started by thinking about, well, what kind of Christian do we most likely want to avoid? Who's the one that people really can't adjust, everybody turns away from?
Got some names.
So Jesus said, you are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. He did not say, you are the gob on the soapbox.
Yes.
I like that, yeah.
And actually, there's something really important and powerful, I think, about just remembering that stuff. But I think it's also really important to be able to talk about the impact that faith has on you. Because I don't think it's very helpful to be talking to people and saying, you should this, you need that, I know about you. But we do know about ourselves. And we had this amazing thing last night, which illustrates what I think is really, really important about stories, because actually stories are interesting. Jesus told stories that were for everybody. And last night we had this event with storytelling on the top of a hill. And we gathered and we carried little jam jar lanterns with lights up, some Christians, some closet Christians, some I've absolutely no idea. And off we went and we stood around the stone cross that's been there for 1,000 years. And a storyteller told us some stories. And then we sat and we listened, and God was so tangible. There was certainly nobody saying, this is what God is, this is what you should do. We went somewhere and we allowed God to speak together. And there's something so important about being able to tell your story, but more importantly, show your story.
Yeah, there's something
who God is to you
about that idea, isn't there, of being a closet Christian, which just feels a little bit, you're hiding part of who you are and therefore not being honest with the world about who you are. Dan, you've worked in a secular job in the police. Have you ever felt that sharing openly your Christian faith has had an impact on that? Were there times where you were a bit tempted not to admit to your faith?
There were never times I was tempted not to. To be honest, when I was in there, it was a time of a lot more openness, which was over the last 10 years. So I was encouraged actually to talk about it and to be genuinely honest about who I was. I think before that, though, a lot of police officers were told, you need to really keep stum on it. Certainly with prisoners, you weren't really meant to share your faith. I have to say there were opportunities I had, appropriate opportunities where I was able to kind of pastorally minister to people. And when I was in the police, we had this magazine called Cops and Robbers, which was a cartoon magazine. It was just like a Beano type thing. Yeah. And we actually didn't do it in my custody block, but a lot of custody blocks were accepting Cops and Robbers magazines, putting them in the custody suite, so when prisoners would go in, they'd have something to read, and what they were reading was the gospel.
Gosh.
So so the gospel was right there.
That's amazing.
In the
That's
cells.
quite funny.
It's a time of openness. It's interesting though, isn't it, that there's always been Christians, I think, that have had legitimate reason not to be too eager to broadcast.
Go on.
So when Jesus went to visit Nicodemus, for example, he went by night, they had a conversation, and since that time, whenever there's been a group of people who've felt that they didn't have much chance to speak, about the faith. They've been called Nicodemites, and there's been Nicodemites throughout history. The Anabaptists are a great example because they had a certain theology of baptism, and they couldn't share it too loudly because they'd be executed.
But Bonhoeffer did that as well. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, when he was in Nazi Germany, there were times where he said that it wasn't appropriate for him to share his faith or to combat what was going on, for example, because the greater good would be supplanted by doing it, and he really agonised about when it was right or when it was not to challenge all these different things. I think when I was in the lab years ago, I got to be honest, really, I was never sort of denied that I was a Christian. I was quite sort of open about it a bit. I always remember when I went to, I had the morning off to go to the Ascension service, and the thing was, why has he gone to that then? He's not a Muslim or anything, is he?
Gosh.
That was the thing. That was it. So I had some time off for religious
you had some
observance.
clueless colleagues, didn't you?
No, it was just bizarre that. And then I entered into a conversation, then, but I didn't say to myself, right, I'm going to take the morning off and make a big deal now about missing work because of this. I genuinely always go to Ascension Day. It happened to be 9 o'clock in the morning, so therefore I had to take the time off. And I had to be quite robust with my boss and say to him, look, I want to take this time off because this is important to me, and I am going to do it, and it's kind of like my right to do it. And I really didn't want to do that because I knew that to some extent, people didn't understand it. And I think what I was ashamed of in a funny way is when I actually went into the priesthood, because everyone thought it was a joke at first. They thought it was all a big wind-up that I was going into the priesthood. So after about 3 or 4 days, people realised it actually was true, because I'd actually handed in my notice, right, they actually went, then there was a good opportunity then for mission, because I'd lost my sort of fear, in a sense. And people, on the whole, with probably one exception, were very interested in my story. They weren't interested in doctrine. They weren't interested in anything
theology.
else.
That's the point.
They were interested in
why story and relationship.
They were interested in why I was
talk
doing
about
it.
your own experiences and story.
Exactly.
People are interested. When you start, being dogmatic about stuff,
Yeah.
people get turned
So
on.
I think that's the thing, is that there's actually quite a big difference, big spectrum between closet Christian, never talk about it, hide, pretend, and shout from the rooftops on the streets with your megaphone and your sandwich board. And actually probably the right place to be is somewhere in between those, talking to people that you come across in your everyday life, sharing who you are with them. And if you're a Christian, that must be an important part of who you are.
I think it's important.
And part of your story that you're going to share with them.
I think it's very important as well, though, for us as a society, because we live in a very closed society in all sorts of ways. And if we're able to share who we are in an open way, that breaks down non-existent barriers that shouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think if we are open about who we are, and people then will be accepting. One interesting thing I do get a lot now is you're not like a vicar. And I get that a lot.
Yeah,
and I think the more open we are, though, about who we are as Christian people, the less people will say things like, you're not like a vicar. And I think that if we look at other groups in our society, as they've been more open and honest about their own culture, right, that attitude of, you're not like a X, has now become unacceptable.
Can I just say something very,
Very
quickly?
quickly.
That there can be an awful lot of pressure, particularly when you're a new Christian, to start talking about it, because the pressure's on to start evangelising and these kind of things. And I think it's not reasonable
unhelpful.
to expect people to simply start broadcasting it. But there is something about denying it. Peter denied Jesus, and we are told
That's
not
not
to.
right.
So I think if you are not in the right place to quite start sharing it, that's okay. But you need to be on the trajectory that says you're going to share
The thing
it.
is,
sensible
after
eyes,
his road
yeah.
to Damascus experience, which very few of
Yeah.
us get, 3 years in the desert before
Exactly.
he spoke to anybody.
But there's no point being salt if you're just going to stay in the bottle. And there's no point being light if you're going to be hidden in the cupboard. Actually, those things, we are there to show the world what it means to follow Jesus.
Yeah,
Very
share the
quickly, Zoe.
gospel in all and every possible way and use words if necessary.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Francis.
There we go. Thanks for watching. If you have thoughts about that, if you've had bad experiences, if you're not sure how to start sharing the fact that you're a Christian with people, then do let us know and we'll chat about it on the Facebook page.
So remember to subscribe on Facebook, on YouTube, and we're also on Twitter. Next week we're going to be talking about prayer. Why do we do it, and is there any point?
Can you be a closet Christian?
That'll do. Yeah.
Narnia.
It's not.
Too clever and cryptic. I need another coffee for that.